So baby murder is wrong. Now, I'm not here to argue about abortion. We're not even anywhere near it. We're talking about, I suppose there are some lunatics out there who would call this like post-birth abortion or some crap. We're talking about mothers killing their babies, which
lovely.
I thought was bad.
Mm-hmm. Funny that.
What's your opinion on mums killing baby?
This might be controversial, but I don't think killing babies is a good idea.
No, me neither. I thought it's kind of murder.
It's probably one of the most egregious murders really going.
No, but the Guardian's here to tell us that no, actually.
Really?
It's you can't charge women who murder babies with murder because they're mentally ill, because they're women who have given birth, which is not the best argument, I would have thought.
Have you ever got so Guardian that you just become
pro baby murder? We're not even talking about abortion. None of this has to do with like, oh, when is the birth or blah blah blah. Like, no, it's alive, and mum is just not having it. So there we are. Well,
also, the notion that the Guardian's just like, yes, women, they're mentally ill, aren't they? Yeah, that's what we've been saying all this time.
Only when they're being convicted of a crime, and we want to get them off. We'll start with mentioning something on Lotus.com being Frank Dicotter's Mal's Great Famine. The reason being because they ate babies. So there we are. There's a connection.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't kill their babies, so there's that.
Well, surely they must have killed them before eating them, unless they ate them alive.
Well, they starved to death, so
right.
It wasn't really, mum killing the baby there.
Yeah, I mean, Mal's Great Famine is one of the most harrowing things to ever learn about. It is some of the worst depths humanity has ever reached.
And I would think everyone involved in that deserves prison. And also, Mummy, who kills a baby, also deserves prison for murder. But the Guardian went with no, as you can see here. This was something I was meant to cover with Harry. We ran out of time because we were having fun. I didn't feel like bringing down the mood in that segment. So I left this off.
Baby murder does tend to have that sort of tendency, doesn't it?
Kind of upsets people. Not at the Guardian, though, as you can see. Women who kill their newborns are deeply unwell. So why are they being tried for murder? Could you riddle me as to why the murderer of a baby is being tried for baby murder?
I mean, the connection is just so tenuous here. I mean, you murder a baby and you're tried for murder. I just don't see the link there. It's really difficult to establish.
The crime of infanticide provides context for tragic cases such as Paris Mayo's, but courts are becoming even harsher. So this is local lady who murdered her baby, who the Guardian are going to take the position that she's an innocent individual because she is having a hard time in life. Therefore, she should be able to murder her baby and not be charged with murder.
Mm-hmm. I mean, what about if you say stand on a plug that's upside down? Is that enough cause for the Guardian to kill your baby? It's really painful. I mean, it's a hard time.
Weird. I mean, you can, a steel man of steel mans, you could argue that, okay, when mother gives birth to baby and they're in a bad situation, you could argue they're not mentally thinking straight and therefore
there's a lot of hormones going on, and you get sort of the postpartum depression? I can't say I've looked into it because I've never been pregnant, funnily enough.
Yeah, and again, all I can do is sympathize, isn't it? Not empathize. I always get them mixed up. I can't empathize because never had a baby. Anyway, but point being that you can make an argument, I guess. I don't think you can make an argument that it's not murder.
No.
I think that's pretty hard. So they say here, they give the example of the lady they're talking about. Last week, 19-year-old Paris Mayo was sentenced to at least 12 years in prison for the murder of her newborn baby.
Just 12 years for killing a baby?
Yeah, it's not a nice death either.
No.
If there is a nice way of killing a baby, but whatever. After concealing her pregnancy, Mayo delivered her baby alone, silently in her parents' home in Ross-on-Wye, while upstairs her father, who would die 10 days later, was undergoing dialysis, and her mother slept. So, okay.
Blimey, that is quite a harrowing
This is the best case example you could possibly give. And yeah, that does suck that your dad's on dialysis. He did die 10 days later. I don't think that's a justification for killing a child.
No.
Your mother was sleeping. I don't really know what that's got to do with it. You're 15. That's, pretty bad. Don't get me wrong. But you still killed a baby. So they say here, terrified of being discovered, she crushed her baby's head in and stuffed his mouth with cotton wool balls before concealing his body in a bin bag, explaining, I didn't want anyone to throw him away. I just wanted someone to deal with it. Now that's murder.
Yeah. And quite a horrific one at that. I'm somewhat disturbed by that, to be honest.
This isn't going to be fun, which is why I left it off that segment where we were having fun, and I was like, I really don't want to bring down the mood. I've had too much fun today.
So you saved it for me. Thank you, Callum.
There you are. You're welcome. But I don't know what we're meant to take from that. I don't know why the Guardian are laying that out. Like, see? Yeah? So, get off. So, no.
That is monstrous. I suppose she has a teenage brain. She doesn't entirely understand what she's doing, but that doesn't... At 15, I knew that killing babies was wrong.
Yeah.
It wasn't a revelation to me. In fact, I felt pretty much exactly the same about baby murder as I do now, in that it's obviously terrible.
But, like, you can have again, people would debate abortion all the time. When is it right? When is it wrong? Blah, blah, blah. And everyone gets all super philosophical about it. And everyone's like, well, the day before, obviously, you can't kill it. Well, the week before, I mean, that's a bit ridiculous, obviously. And then there's gray area. People argue about whether it's right or wrong and blah, blah, blah. Not getting into it. I thought everyone had agreed that murdering post-birth was just 100% murder.
I don't understand how you can produce a baby from your own body. You create life. It's meant to be one of the most beautiful things to ever happen to a human being. You're like, yeah, I'm going to kill it immediately. It's so monstrous.
Just to point out as well, at no point do they argue that Paris in this case had like postnatal depression or anything like that. They just argue that, well, she was in a terrible situation. Of course she killed her baby. Let's let her off. Which I don't buy it. But the weirder thing is not even that that's something you thought of writing down and then published in a newspaper, and an editor looked at it and went, yeah, I'm going to put my stamp of approval to that. You know what our company stands for? Baby murder. The next bit, the actual concern of the person writing this. These details are shocking, unfathomable, but the jury's decision to reject a verdict of infanticide is also deeply troubling. Because there's a law in the books that's infanticide, which was passed in 1930, I think it's 38, yeah, there it is, in which they argue that, well, if a mother kills the baby, it's not as bad, and we'll give them infanticide. And, well, every jury that's ever heard any case of this is like, no, that's murder. I mean,
I don't know why I'm playing devil's advocate here, because it's a disgusting thing, but in humans' history, we've got some sort of paleoanthropological evidence that children were killed and cannibalized in very, very difficult times when there wasn't, the abundance of food and water and resources that we have nowadays. So there does seem to be this weird impulse in human beings, but in the modern day, when we have a certain amount of material abundance, that is inexcusable. Right?
There's no grug argument of like, well, I was worried about resources.
Mm-hmm. And I still don't think that's an excuse really anyway. So better.
She adds, her murder conviction adds to an increasingly clear picture that women and girls who conceal a pregnancy and subsequently cause the death of an infant through violence or neglect are being treated with an ever more punitive approach. Cause the death of an infant through violence. I mean murder. The word's murder. I'm sorry. What do you think that is? Well, there's a word for it, surely. Killing an infant through violence.
She literally crushed its skull, the monster.
So, research by Dr. Emma Mill, an associate professor in law and criminal justice at Durham University, found that women who are accused of killing a newborn are increasingly vulnerable and experience pregnancy in a moment of crisis.
Wait, but it's like saying, oh, a serial killer, they're quite vulnerable, aren't they? They're quite, emotionally unstable. Oh, go easy on them.
This is just crap. I mean, any murderer in any time in history is actually a completely stable, well thought out individual with a non-criminal mind, in fact, doesn't even have mens rea, whatever the word is, and is just trotting along, doing his normal thing, and he happened to murder someone.
No, it's not like anyone's denying the fact that whenever someone does something wrong, there's probably something wrong with them.
Oh, there might even be good reasons, but it's still murder, my friend.
Yeah.
I mean, like, the only examples people can ever really forgive is, say, that chap who was a paedophile, and the father of one of his victims shot the paedophile in the head as justice for his son. And most people go, yeah, right.
Based.
But I mean, that's a really rare instance where people are like, well, fair enough, he murdered him, I'm just going to let him go, frankly. Instead, no, I think lady who carves in the skull of her baby is a lady murderer.
To be fair, the baby didn't do anything, and the paedophile certainly did.
He was a paedophile.
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry to laugh, by the way, in case people wonder why I do. Just generally
it's
horrible
so dark
things.
that you have to laugh.
It's just we've done this for so many years, and we've gone through all the dark stuff. I remember when we first did a segment about the German paedophile scandal.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just grim. Whereas now, it's like the Joker. I've come full around. A lot of people comment, why the hell is Cam laughing at something dark? But whatever the subject, doesn't even have to be this one. Because I have no idea what to do at this point mentally.
It's the nature of covering the news all the time. You hear the worst of humanity every day, day in, day out, to the point where you get so desensitized to it that you can only laugh at the horror, because if you don't, you will cry.
So I won't go into too much detail. My where I used to live, there were 2 doctors at the GP. One of them was this miserable man who had no emotion regardless of what you said to him.
Doctor.
You'd come in and be like, I want to kill myself. And you'd be like, how would you get it? And you'd list them all. Yeah, that'll kill you. Anyway, here's a prescription. Like, completely blank face, Doc Martin.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one was a lady who would laugh at everything, which is the exact opposite.
Mm-hmm.
And
you want to kill yourself?
Ironically. So, someone I knew went in there for a STD. And she just started laughing, and he was like, "Could you not do that?" And she's like, "I'm sorry, it's just part of my mind at this point." Anyway, back to the story of baby murder. So Mill is concerned that the 1938 Infanticide Act, a homicide offence which provides women with a partial defence for baby murder because it's manslaughter of a biological child, which I don't think it's manslaughter. Sorry, it's murder.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't an accident, was it? It sounded pretty deliberate to me from what the Guardian themselves said here.
But what happened is, in the last 50 years, they argue, no woman was imprisoned following an infanticide act. Well, because it would be manslaughter, but it's not manslaughter, in my opinion. They're reading the case there. And they'd get psychiatric report. And they're worried because now the Crown Prosecution Service is hardening towards cases and a misunderstanding of the psychological state of these women experience. The reason she's arguing that is because they keep charging women who murder their babies with murder instead of manslaughter.
Mm-hmm. It's not like there's someone else involved. It's them doing it. So, I mean, needing a psychiatric report, I think, is reasonable, considering, you have to be a bit mental to do this, right?
Yeah.
Or morally bankrupt. Any number of deficiencies, really.
I mean, again, the steel man here, they argue. They often live with violence and abuse, as Mayo did. Didn't actually detailing advanced abuse, no more. And fear of discovery of the pregnancy, isolated and terrified, they deny their condition and deliver a baby without assistance or pain relief, viewing the infant as a problem that can only be solved by being unborn.
Mm-hmm. I think the healthy thing here would have been for her to come clean with her parents.
Or just hand the baby into the authorities and take care of it. If you can't, you're a 15-year-old.
You could have put it up for adoption.
But I'm sorry, unborn?
Yeah, it wasn't unborn. It was very born.
It was murdered. I mean, again, the word is murder. I've just unborn this man. Who writes like this?
He was a 36-year-old child.
The public empathy for women like Caroline Bell 30 years ago, so this is talking about a woman who was completely mentally stable, blah, 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 killed her baby, and then for some reason a jury decided, that was manslaughter, which I would have thought was a miscarriage of justice, but they write that the sympathy for her has regressed dramatically in recent years, with juries today increasingly rejecting the defense of infanticide in similar cases, and instead giving her the murder charge.
Well done, people of Britain, for being against baby murder. I mean, it's such a high bar. You've really exceeded expectations here.
Her case is kind of weird as well, because she claims that when she murdered her baby, she barely remembers it happening, and it was like a dream. But then when you ever...
a dream?
Yeah, but the author asks, well, like, it's not real. So the argument is like, well, she's not well. She doesn't think this is reality, right? But when the author says she's spoken to about the events of that night, for some reason, she all goes quiet and doesn't want to talk about it. Like, she can't physically speak. So what?
That sounds a bit strange, because that just seems like I don't want to incriminate myself more than anything else, right?
At least you could make... I mean, there's a better argument there of a psychological profile of someone who doesn't understand the situation, because at least she's claiming that. Whereas in the Paris case, it was just, well, I didn't want to deal with it. It was like, well, the correct solution to that is not baby murder. Anyway. Among them was Slipper Skersi, 38, who gave birth alone.
Slipper, as in like things you put on your feet?
Seemingly. Who gave birth alone and abandoned in her newborn in Newwood near Heath, near Southampton. a woman of 4, married to a Commonwealth soldier who had left the British Army. Her pregnancy coincided with her family losing their right to stay in the UK. That's, again, not a real good justification for baby murder. I mean, I know the Guardian audience will be like, oh, how could the British government do this? That would be their response to that statement. But whatever. Either they have a right to stay or they don't. Apparently they didn't.
Yeah,
you can't just kill your baby then.
We don't particularly want baby murderers in this country, funnily enough. Controversial opinion.
Again, I like, not great circumstances, don't get me wrong. You can't kill babies. I'm sorry. In December 2021, Mr. Justice Garnham sentenced her to life for murder. Because murder.
It was, yeah.
Baby. Yep. In June 2017, Rachel Tunsil was given a 20-year minimum term for stabbing her newborn to death after a concealed pregnancy. Again, I don't know why are you bringing these up as if this strengthens your case that they should get off with it. I mean, this is just awful.
Just listing monsters here.
And in June 2021, Hannah Colbley was also jailed for life for murdering her daughter after a crisis pregnancy. I'm sorry. So, right, the whole reason I bring this up, because I don't think it's a real argument. I don't think I really have to sit here and be like, baby murder's wrong. What the hell is wrong with you? The Guardian, who sits there and is like, well, this is a convincing argument. Here's a bunch of monsters who killed their children, got sentenced to murder for that, and then you're arguing, well, how are we sentencing these innocent darlings to murder? They were clearly just mentally unwell, and therefore should get away with it.
On the topic of mentally unwell, if I didn't know how absolutely insane The Guardian was, I would presume that this was some sort of Tory infiltrator to make the left look really bad. Just like, yeah, we're pro-baby murder, right, guys? We're all for this.
Actual insanity. So never mind. I don't even want to hear the left versus right abortion debate anymore. I want to hear the left versus right should we murder babies debate, because apparently that's a thing. So there we are. I don't know what to say. I don't know what the hell I just read. If you appreciated that segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to get access to all the premium content that's on the site, such as the Epoch series, this episode on Thomas Becket. If you'd like to find out what else is being put out, you can follow on Getter at lotuseaters_com on Getter. Thank you and goodbye.